So guys, for you guys that are normally on my channel, this is a bit different content. This is just an installation guide for the Seat Leon Mk1 Cupra R. Basically the install set of my diffusers that I do. I get asked an awful lot on best ways of doing them, blah blah blah. So I thought I'd do an up-to-date video and basically give you a kind of a rollout of best ways of going about it and things to do and not to do, sort of thing. So I'll show you what's in the box, what you get as a set after this. I'm not sure I'm going to record this very well, but we'll see. Right, first of all, you get 10 self-tapping black screws. They're coated, obviously not to rust or basically break very easily. You get some 5 strips of some neoprene foam. It's usually a 3mm thick, as you can see, with a sticky back. What's that for? I'll show you in a minute. Right, and as for the sets, basically, the contrast isn't very good with my keyboard there. So, right, you've got 2 different types of the fins and fittings. They're the 2 different types. The easiest way of telling is with the fins is that one has quite a big top part, and that one doesn't. Well, not so much. Basically, they are for the center 3, and they are for the 2 outer edges. Fittings wise, the easiest way of telling, the outer edges have just a straight flush kind of curve, and the center ones have a little bit of a lip there to match up with the contour of the actual bumper. Right, what I said earlier about the strip, neoprene strip, ideally you don't have to use it. I wouldn't recommend you using it if you're going to spray them, because this stuff doesn't spray very well. So what I would do is I'd fit the fittings, any slight gaps you have from the imperfections of the bumper and obviously the print, I would just either put a bit of body filler on and obviously smooth that off and spray over that, which you shouldn't have an issue with. But this is basically for the guys that don't want to, and girls that don't want to, aren't spraying them. Basically peel that off, stick it along the edge of the fitting, and then obviously trim off up each of the edges, any excess or any extra. I tend to trim it sort of like a mil or 2 short, that way when it presses up against the bumper, it kind of spreads out a little and it kind of sits a bit more flush. The thing that most people are asking me about is obviously as they come in the box, they'll be put together like this with a gap. Don't push them together while they're not fitted on the car, because if you push them together you won't get them back off. I'll print them in such a way that the tolerances are quite tight, mainly so the actual fin doesn't fall off when driving, or obviously catching standing water or any debris or anything that you find on the roads, like plastic bags, stuff like that, won't rip them off. So I've done them as tight as I can, but still with being able to get them on, so to speak. What I would suggest is, right, that's the 2 separate parts. As you can see, that has a kind of a ridge, and then that part has the recess for it. Although you can't quite tell on the camera. Right, if you think that you won't, once you've fitted the fitting to the car, if you think you won't get the fin pushed on all the way, don't try and force it on too much. Easiest way of doing it is just take a little bit of sandpaper, and on these top 2 edges here, try and get the angle a bit better. So basically top 2 edges here, you'll feel like a step, and that's obviously the layer of the 3D print. If you just lightly sand them 2 edges, that will allow you to slide it on that a little bit more. So basically just a bit of trial and error. Once you've got like a mil or so gap, then you'll be able to just force it on that little bit more, and that should hold them in place. Worst case scenario, if you sand it a little bit too much, if you actually look underneath, you have a hole that goes all the way through, and there's a little recess in the clip as well, in the fitting. Just put a basic machine screw, something like an M4 or even an M3, just something that's around about that size. It could be anything really, any screw type. It could be pointed as well, and just sort of screw them up, and that'll allow you to hold the fin in and block the fin from coming off, and also anyone be able to steal them as well easier. Well, make it harder for someone to steal it anyway. Right, as for the actual fitting and where to fit them on the actual car, I'll probably put up a couple of links of my car and maybe a few others if I get permission on, or if I've not got their number plates showing, on customers that have had the sets as well, on where they fit. You'll find that the centre 3 is the easiest ones to do, and the outer edges, they can be a bit finicky, generally because obviously you don't, on the left side you don't want to get too close to the exhaust, and on the right side you don't want to cover over your the cover that for your toe eye part. I've made them in such a way that obviously it's close, and some people have just put them over and just thought, fuck it, you know what, worst case scenario, you just unscrew it and take it off if you need to tow. And to be honest, if you need to tow something out, then you've obviously went front end into something that you need towing out of. So reckon a set of diffusers is here and there really. I would imagine you'd be more bothered about the front end of the car. But yeah, I'm digressing. Basically the centre, best to do the centre one first. Get the centre of the bumper, line that up, line the screw up, line the fitting up, and screw it into place. Obviously what I would do is step back, make sure you've got it level with the ground and obviously straight up and down. If you do need to adjust it, I would probably recommend doing the bottom screw rather than the top screw, because you're less likely to see that, and you might be able to get away with just doing the bottom one and tweaking the to get it straight if you have put it on slightly squiff. Most people I know that have done it have been really anal with it and measured it down to the millimetre and put them on absolutely fucking centre and perfect and everything. But once you've done the centre one, all you need to do then is do the two outer edges. The tips of the side ones, i.e. these bits here on the fitting, basically you'll see the crease that goes around the bumper, and then obviously stops where the diffusers fit to. If you line that top part up with it and then go straight down, you should just miss the toe eye cover, and you should be far enough away from the exhaust on the other side not to melt it. Generally, if you've got pops and bangs, I'd maybe put it a bit further away, or if you want to, spray some 2K lacquer or something like that over the top of them. Dead easy to spray, it's a couple of quid can, and that will give you a bit more temperature range. They are printed with PLA plus, so they do hold up to heat quite well. Sunlight's fine, but obviously when you've got pops and bangs, and if you've got a lot of sort of like flames coming out, depending on how you've mapped it, then I would recommend you covering them and trying to protect them a bit more for the heat. You could even put some heat high temp paint on there or something like that if you wish, to make sure they're all matched, if you want to do something like that. I am looking into doing a set of fins that do have an even higher temp, but I think to be able to print them, I'm going to have to change all my hot end nozzle, and it's a lot of faffing about. So maybe if I come to a project that requires it a bit more, I might think about doing it, but until then you'll just have to kind of cover them with a bit of 2K lacquer or some heat temperature paint. But as they come raw, they're fine. I don't think I've had the odd one that's tend to warped a bit funny with the heat and stuff like that, but I do replacements. I do replacement fins for £4. So if you do smash one, crack one off a curb, that's what most people do, usually reverse and then catch the curb when the car's a bit lower and break them. Catching off speed hump, stuff like that. But yeah, once you've done the two outside ones, all you need to do then is find the middle of the centre one to the outside, and that gives you the location for the other centre part ones. Do that on each side, and then you'll have your set of 5. So guys, that's a bit different to my usual content. Any of you guys that I've watched this that have bought a set of diffusers off me, hopefully that's helped you out. If you want to, obviously check out my other videos on channel. I don't have the Cupra R anymore, but I do other bits and bobs and stuff with my old car, and just general sort of messing about with 3D printing and stuff like that. I do have a lot of things that I want to get done and I've got in the works, but just with things at the moment and work being a little busy, I'm just working at the moment, coming back and spending a bit of time at the weekend just chilling and keeping looking after my car and stuff like that. So, but until then, I'll catch you in the next one.